playoff national championship.
Just like we all knew they would, right?
It's exactly what we all predicted before the season. And tonight, Oregon taking on number 1 Indiana, undefeated Indiana.
Before
tonight.
the season. How about even before the playoffs?
Andy Slater. And
Do you know anybody who picked them?
We're going to get into Josh Grizzard in just a second here. Andy Slater, a guy from Miami who we've talked to before, who does some radio out in Miami. He's going a little viral right now. He put $500 on Miami just before they even announced, I think, that they were going to the playoffs, where it's like, are they going to go or not? If they win the national championship, he wins $50,000.
Jesus. Andy's won enough.
Yeah, I believe that's what the payout is, $50,000.
Why didn't you put that bet in?
Wasn't going to do that. So tonight, Oregon taking on Indiana. But the conversation right now is about Josh Grizzard, who was fired by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers yesterday. He is no longer part of the staff. It wasn't just Josh Grizzard who was let go. In total, you had 5 assistants yesterday that were let go. Josh Grizzard, special teams coordinator Thomas McGahee, also Thad Lewis, the quarterback's coach. He will not be back. Kevin Ross, cornerback's coach, and Charlie Strong, as Pat had mentioned yesterday on the show, he is not going to be back. Tom Moore, he retired. So a lot of changes within the Buccaneers organization yesterday. A lot.
Yeah, and that's what was necessary. Right? If you're going to retain Todd Bowles, and this is what I said as soon as we started getting that reporting that Todd Bowles was likely going to be retained, I said, if you're going to retain Todd Bowles, you better make him get rid of Josh Grizzard, and there should be probably several changes on the coaching staff, and that's exactly what we've seen.
All important moves, but all important coaching positions. But the most important for this team right now, without a doubt, is offensive coordinator. And Josh Grizzard is out. So who should be in? That's the question. And we'll take your calls on this, 888-546-4620 if you want to jump aboard. 82945, start your text with DAE.
What about John Gruden? I watched episodes 5 and 6 of Raise the Flags yesterday, and it just got me thinking, what about John Gruden as the new offensive coordinator? And obviously I'm kidding, but I expect us to get some of those texts on the text line.
Without a doubt, the first name that came to my head while everything was going on yesterday was the obvious, because of what happened and how things shook up yesterday. Mike McDaniel, who got fired from the Dolphins yesterday, makes so much sense for what we have going on here in Tampa Bay. What was the one thing we said about Josh Grizzard that was he was lacking? He had no imagination. He didn't adjust. He had the game plan before. It was set in stone, and he couldn't scheme up anything within the game to make sure to call for that moment, what to call in that moment in time that the game really called for. He couldn't do it. Mike McDaniel is so good at scheming. He is creative when it comes to the pass game and designs. We saw it in Miami when you got the right pieces and you're healthy. He is one of the more innovative minds in football. And for Baker Mayfield, for this offense, for these weapons, what we see, that is my number one choice right now. And he's a little zany, which is so different.
We'd have fun with him.
We would have so much fun with him. He's a little different than Todd Bowles. Dave Canales was very different than Todd Bowles. His energy was different than Todd Bowles. Same thing with Liam Cohen. I think Mike McDaniel would be great for this offense.
I think it's an interesting choice. I don't know if he would be my top choice. Obviously, they're going to have to interview these guys, but he's done some really good things in this league. He's also, the offense is a little bit different than what the Buccaneers have been doing here, and I don't know how much change they want from a schematic. Obviously, they don't want it to look like what Josh Grizzard did, but when you look at the success he had under Liam Cohen, you would imagine that guys who run a more similar offense to what Liam Cohen did might look at first, guys that come out of that Sean McVay tree. And, of course, they've got that Nathan Scheelhaus, I think I'm saying it correctly, or close to it, Scheelhaus. He interviewed, remember, last year for this job. And I suspect, we talked about it going into the hire, that they might want to keep the continuity of having somebody in-house like Josh Grizzard. They did that, and it didn't work out. You have to wonder how his interview went last offseason. And then also Zach Robinson, who was the offensive coordinator in Atlanta and came directly from that Sean McVay tree, is a guy I think is an interesting candidate as well.
I don't love Robinson based on one of the biggest problems, and you even mentioned it, one thing that you hated from this season was when Josh Grizzard got the weapons back, they didn't get better. In fact, they got worse. They had a lot of weapons in Atlanta. Now, you can make the argument they didn't have the quarterback, but then again, Kirk Cousins didn't have success, and he's had plenty of success in this league. Michael Penix is young.
Listen, when Kirk came back, it was bad for a couple weeks, but then it started to look a lot better, too.
But I just didn't see him do enough with the weapons he has. When you have one of the best receivers in the game, even though, you have a tight end who had been struggling, but Kyle Pitts got it together and had a really good season. You have Bijan Robinson, who's been incredible.
Who had a monster year. A monster year. People were talking about whether or not he was the best player in football at the end of the season.
But they couldn't do anything with it. They never really,
They didn't win, and I think in large part because of the quarterback position, right? Like, got basically a rookie quarterback to start the season. That's why I said I didn't believe in Atlanta coming into the season.
You can go McVay tree, or like I mentioned with McDaniel, you can go Shanahan tree. That's kind of the two trees I want to pluck from.
Yeah, which makes a lot of sense.
888-546-4620. Which tree would you like to pluck from? Let's go to Rick in Tampa. Good morning, Rick.
Hey, morning, guys. I agree with you with Mike McDaniel. He's the best of both worlds. He's not too young, but he's only he's 43, and he's actually called plays in the NFL, and he's a previous head coach. So I wouldn't mind having Todd Monken, but Monken's a little on the older side, unfortunately.
And they took a step back. The Ravens took a step back this year, big time.
Yeah. And, whoever's – I think the only thing that they can really pitch any potential, top candidate is hey, man, Todd Bowles might be a little bit of a sitting duck. We're kind of, letting him do what he needs to do on defense. But if he don't do what he needs to do, he can be the next guy up. So just have your offense clicking, and then if anything doesn't work out, let's say he's gone by week 14, and you got to be the assistant or the assistant head coach or whatever, or the interim head coach, and then you can slide right into the head coach position.
First of all, interim head coaches very rarely get the next job. They're very rarely the guy who gets the job, first of all. And second of all, I think a better pitch than, hey, your head coach might get fired, which, by the way, usually means you're going with him. Instead of that argument of, hey, he's a lame duck coach, I would rather make the argument, hey, 2 of the last 3 guys to take this job are now head coaches in the league.
Which is true, but again, too, though, if you're doing your job, again, anywhere you do your job good enough, and there's a position available that opens up in your let's say your office, and it opens up, and you're doing your job really well, we think we're going to go ahead and move you up. I'm not trying to say that, hey, let's go ahead and just tell them that you can be the next head coach if he gets fired. I kind of did say that, but to a certain extent, I get what you're saying. As long as you do your job and you do everything that you can. Look what happened to Liam. Look what happened to Dave Canales. They move right up. Just do your job and you can move up. And then again, too, I called yesterday with T-Crest, and I told him this, I don't understand all these moves. You can make as many moves